morning. It was a pleasant night and I got up just in time to see the sun hitting the cliff bands up behind me here, which was really stupendous. So today should be fairly easy hiking. I just hike along a little bit more, maybe another 5 miles of the north wall past Lake Lavale. That'll be fun to see again. I think probably only have to go 13-14 miles, something like that, so I can take my time and really enjoy it and soak in the surroundings, which I certainly intend to do. But right now, all packed up and ready to go, so let's hit it. Just make out the trail there leading up to the next rim right there. So on day one I told you about the special personal significance to me of the hike over Headquarters Pass, and this hike along the north wall has a similar personal significance. And bear with me, I know this might get a little corny, but if that hike was the death of my traditional backpacking career, this hike along the wall symbolized my rebirth as an ultralight backpacker. So after getting kind of crippled up from that first trip and resigning myself to only doing 8 or 10 mile hikes, I transitioned to ultralight gear and techniques and decided to do a section hike of the CDT from Benchmark all the way up to Highway 2, which is a little over 100 miles, and I managed to do that in just 6 days. So that was the longest trip I had ever done up to that point, and also the most miles per day, and it really was a proof of concept for me that I wasn't done yet with the backpacking. And it was all because of being able to switch to the lighter gear that I was able to accomplish that. So last night I was camped just down over that rim. And just about to the top of the next one. It took me a little over an hour to cross that bowl. I am right next to Lake Lavale. And the guidebook says there's an unmarked trail that goes over to it, but I have not been able to find that yet. Well, maybe this is it. How about that? I can't imagine that there isn't more of a trail because it's a beautiful lake and it's right so close to the CDT. You'd think there'd be a massive trail over to it, but no, you just gotta bushwhack. Thankfully it's fairly thin forest, so the bushwhacking isn't too tough. Hey, how about this? Look what I found. I saw this on the maps. It's a little pond next to Lake Lavale, and since the camping on the edge of Lavale is restricted, this might be a reasonable option, although it looks a little swampy on the edges, might be hard to get water from. And here is the beautiful Lake Lavale. It's gorgeous, but pretty steep shore all the way around, which made me smile when I read that camping was restricted around the shore, because I don't know how anybody would camp on the shore. Lovely setting. And there's some decent campsites right next to that pond, complete with camp robbers and camp tools. Thoughtful of the Forest Service to leave those around. Lake Lavale is just over a little rise there, maybe 150 feet. Incidentally, if you're wanting to try to find Lake Lavale, the secret is that as you're coming down off that ridge above the lake, there's a little flat spot before it starts going downhill again, and the trail is right there, heading straight west, maybe a little southwest. Well, I'm here at the junction of Open Creek and the trail that goes up Teton Mountain, and that means that if my lollipop route had square corners, this would be the most distant corner from where the truck is parked. By the way, if anybody is contemplating doing a section hike of the CDT like I did from Benchmark up to Highway 2, I'd like to suggest this as an alternative route for the people who aren't purists. The CDT turns down Open Creek, but it's a much more interesting way to go, to climb up over Teton Mountain, and then you get to see Dean Lake, the Trilobite Range and lakes, and beautiful view over the whole Dolly Varden drainage. Come down to Schaefer Meadows and on out on the middle fork of the Flathead River. It's a way more interesting way to go than this route, the actual CDT, which is basically 25 miles about of thick forest and the Hall of Trees effect, with very little views, broken only by Beaver Lake, really. So that works great for section hikers because you can choose to park your shuttle vehicle at Bear Creek, where the Middle Fork comes out and meets Highway 2. No difference to park there versus at Marias Pass. So I'm going to head down Open Creek this time and see what that's like. Well, this might be the end of the peaceful deep forest travel. I think this burn continues quite a ways down. Well, I've seen better marked junctions before, but can you believe that is the trail taken off, and I think it's the CDT. Well, I had to pull over and check my maps and GPS to be sure, but that really was the junction with the CDT taken off to the north there. So northbound through hikers, beware of that junction. That is terrible. You could miss that one pretty easy. Well, the hike down Open Creek was a bit more miserable than I expected. My thermometer was reading 93 in the shade. And with the smoke everywhere, you know, one of the benefits of hiking through a burn is usually it opens up the view so you can really see around. And I could just see the shadows of mountain ranges all around. I'm sure it would be beautiful normally, but they're all shaded, all hidden behind the smoke. And that makes the heat even more oppressive feeling. Thankfully, there was a bit of a breeze, and I'm certainly grateful for that. Always a little bit of a Russian roulette feeling, though, when the breeze freshens up to some gusts and you're hiking through a burn area like that. Those old trees, every single one of them is going to fall sometime, and a good enough gust is just what it takes to do that. So it can get a little nerve-wracking walking through that when the wind is gusting. I've been following the CDT for about 20 miles now, ever since the junction with Red Shale Creek, and all along the north wall and down Open Creek was all part of the CDT. So now is when we part company and head straight south through the North Fork of the Sun area. There was a really good campsite just on the edge of Round Park, and here is another one just past that junction with the CDT. I guess that answers my question about pack rafting this far north. Same thing in that direction. Starting to get into a few scattered pine trees on the edge of the burn. Well, there's the ford of Wrong Creek, and thankfully there's some logs across that a person can walk if they're feeling daring, and just across the ford is this big beautiful campsite. So I think I know where I'm staying tonight. Made it by about 5:45. Well, after scoping around, I've decided that this is actually the best place for a tent site. A little farther away from the stream, so a little quieter and hopefully a bit less condensation. Of course there's horse poop around, but that's life in the bob. So the tally for the day is 14 miles exactly, and I'm camped here right at the crossing of Wrong Creek. But I gotta say, feel kind of pooped today. I think the sun, the heat coming through that burn area and breathing the smoke kind of takes it out of you when you're pushing. Even though I made it here in good time, puts me in good shape for tomorrow. I'm kind of debating about changing my plans. I'm right here at the threshold of Root Creek Pass, which I've never been over. So I don't know. And it might be kind of cool to see some different high country. So I'm going to have to sleep on that. I'll let you know in the morning what I decide to do. Well, just having some homemade chili tonight. Same deal as last night, just some chili that we make at home that I threw on the dehydrator. Works great. Had it in the freezer for probably 2 years until now, and it tastes just fine. Got my bear hang done. Just don't tell anybody that it's right next to my campsite. That's not kosher. But these days, when people are debating not even hanging stuff, that's probably a pretty good hang. Really, man, it was so nice to dip my feet in the stream and get really clean. Although my feet were numb pretty fast, I gotta say. I thought I would sit there and dangle my legs for a while, but nope, that was short-lived. Anyway, sure feels good, and hope that means I'll sleep well tonight. Alright everybody, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, good morning. It's kind of a chilly morning, and I'm just having my breakfast. It rained a little bit last night, and I can't quite tell whether it's smoky or overcast. I think it's probably a little of both. I've been trying something a little different for breakfast. Usually on my longer trips I'll bring the stove, which I did, and have hot oatmeal and hot coffee for breakfast. But I've been enjoying my cold coffee so much that I decided maybe instead of doing the hot oatmeal, I'm doing these pro meal bars and just having a quick breakfast that way with a pro meal bar and the cold coffee. And so far it's been working good, and that's saying something since this is day 4 of eating the same thing. I'm not sick of it yet. So change of plans. I decided I am going to go up over Root Creek Pass instead of the original plan, and let me show you on the map what that looks like. So I'm camped right here just across the stream of Wrong Creek, and the original plan was to hike down this way and all along the North Fork of the Sun down to Headquarters Creek and back out through Headquarters Pass the way I came in. But looking at the map, I realized that the goal was to get close to Sun River, and the trail goes quite a ways away from the river. It doesn't really get close until this last 3 miles here, and it seems to me I probably could just hike that 3 miles farther north. When I come in again, I'm certain I'm going to come in and raft that again because it's a fun little trip. So I don't really need to hike that, and this is going to be away from the river, and the Headquarters Pass is redoing stuff I've seen before. So instead, if I just do this first little section at that junction and head this way instead, that's Root Creek Pass, which is entirely new to me, and then that comes over here, Root Creek Pass, and on over the middle fork of the North Fork of the Teton River. I'll hike up over Lonesome Ridge, and then I'm on the road that is to the trailhead where my truck is parked, right here at South Fork Teton. So I think I might just stop at Mill Falls Campground and spend the night there. That's if everything goes according to plan, which of course rarely happens, but that's part of the adventure. So while I'm waiting for the sun to pop out over the ridge and dry out my tent, the first thing I get to do is to hike the wrong way up Wrong Creek to go see Wrong Cabin. Who could resist a teaser like that, right? Let's go. Wow, that's certainly the newest looking cabin I've seen in the Bob. I wonder if the old one burnt down. Well, that was a fun side trip and a good way to warm up in the morning, but now it's time to get to work, climbing Root Creek Pass. I don't know exactly the elevation, but I do know it's not quite as high as Headquarters Pass, but still a serious climb, so let's get at it. Well, I've come to the key junction, and so far these first 2 miles have supported my decision because it's all thick forest, and the little glimpses I've seen out into the valley, I am a long ways away from the river and not learning anything new about it. So, in fact, there's a hill in the way. So I'm sticking with the new plan, heading over Root Creek. Can't wait to see what that looks like. Well, I have to say, so far this is a beautiful trail. Obviously well traveled and very well taken care of. Kind of looks like the kind of trail that they would take tourists on for horseback rides. Certainly a lot more pleasant than climbing up through the burn area on Headquarters Pass. And here is a huge, beautiful campsite right at the junction with the stream. After that big, beautiful campsite and ford of Root Creek is when the serious climbing starts. And you have to have that because we're going to gain, I believe, about 1,200 feet elevation in about 3 miles. Still good path and covered with forest, and I'm grateful for that because it's 85 degrees out. So if I was hiking through that burn on Headquarters Pass, I'd be really miserable. Wow, this looks like it would be pretty impressive in the springtime. Might be a little nerve-wracking to cross. Getting up into the high country, things are definitely getting interesting. Working my way up around this corner. I keep praying there's going to be a dip in that ridge line. Something I can head for. But I'm not seeing it. Of course, I'm not seeing the trail either. Turns out that trail squeaks by far to the right of that solid wall. I think I'm just about there. That's the middle fork of the Teton River, and I'm guessing that the route up over Lonesome Ridge, probably right in that ravine there. About 600 feet elevation gain in 2 miles. One last potential ford Although I think I can hop across that right there. A bit of a jump when you're tired at the end of the day, but I think I can do it. As expected, the cutoff trail over Lonesome Ridge is unforgiving. These trails tend to have their origins as jeep trails or trails for the ranchers to move their stock around. So they like to just go straight up and straight down, but that gets you places quicker. It's almost like climbing up a whole another pass here at the end of the day. I'm only 2 or 3 miles short of my destination, but starting to look like it might rain before I get there. So here I am coming out to the road, and I know for a fact from the maps that this is exactly 14 miles, and my GPS says 12.8. So that means it wasn't as accurate as I was thinking it was. And all of the mileage I've been given all along was probably shy a mile or mile and a half. So my plan is just to road walk. It should be only a mile to the campground, and I plan to set up there and spend the night. And in the morning I can do the other mile hike to pick up the truck, and then it'll be heading home. This was a pretty fun trip. It was great for me to re-experience some beautiful places, and also exciting to see the new territory of Root Creek Pass. Glad I did that, although it is really steep on both sides up towards the top. The last 800 feet or so were kind of brutal. Overall, I only saw 2 people the whole trip, and one of them was a forest ranger on patrol. The smoke was kind of a downer. That certainly got in the way of some of the long shots that I wanted to get of mountain peaks, but you'll just have to come here and see them for yourself. I seem to have once again demonstrated my inability to take it easy. I designed a trip that would be 5 easy days and then squeezed it into 4. So the total mileage for today will be 16, and total mileage for the trip I'm going to say is about 60. Adjusting for the inaccuracy of my GPS. So that's pretty good. It's a good workout and a good experience in the bob. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming along, and I'll see you next time. Take care.